British Spy Stories. Season 3. Official Denial. Episode 7. Gabby suggests they go for a walk in Budapest to debrief on what's been happening. The three of them leave the hotel and walk west until they reach the bank of the Danube, near the Orzagaz, the Parliament building. The area is busy, and people are out walking their dogs or taking the air. "Tell me about what happened," says Gabby.
"We've located a close contact of Overbeck's," says Hans. "Olena Chachuk. She lived in Kiev, but more interestingly, she left to come here to Budapest at the same time as Overbeck. We know her address and a friend of hers, and we got a couple of trackers on her clothing."
Laravelle pulls out enlargements from her bag of the photos she took yesterday and hands them to Gabby.
"This is Elena, the brunette."
"Who's the lunch companion?" says Gabby.
"We ran a face recognition on her on Oberon. You're not going to like it."
Gabby turns to look at the others.
"Her name is Nadia Koval,"
says Laravelle.
"Koval?"
"Yes, she's the wife of Taras Koval."
"Who is the Russian mafia's man in Budapest," says Gabby, completing the sentence for him. "And Redwick's local contact." The three of them walk on for a minute in silence, while Hans and Laravelle let Gabby think. Eventually she says, "We don't know what Elena means to Overbeck, do we? They could be friends, or lovers. We also don't know how or why Nadia and Elena know each other, or the basis of their friendship. It could all be innocent."
"Elena could be Russian intelligence,"
says Hans.
"Trying to flip Overbeck. They may know he's already a British agent."
"Hans, we need everything we can find on Elena and Nadia and Taras Koval," says Gabby. "This link between Overbeck and Redwick changes everything. The stakes just got higher as there is potentially a British intelligence source inside his criminal organisation. Overbeck could be tortured or leak voluntarily."
"I've got an idea,"
says Laravelle.
"I can happen to meet Elena again and start to become her best friend. Then we'll have a source of information close by the Kovals."
"Yeah, good idea, Jenny. Take Hans as your boyfriend, and use your Sabrina Miller cover life that we used on the migrant operation." Laravelle and Hans exchange glances. "On the Redwick side, we now have an opportunity. I got some intel from the Budapest embassy that says Redwick only has minimal security in the house he is in currently. I've already spoken to Kate this morning, Agent Coniston. She is on her way here. In 2 days, we attack Redwick in his hideaway, using the pre-approved kill order from Sir Bernard. And Kate will be our lethal force." Marjorie decides to get out at Green Park today and walk the rest of the way to Thames House to start her shift in the MI5 Operations Control Centre. She walks up the slope from Green Park Station and turns down into the park. The air is still and clear, with wispy clouds high up in the sky. This is the kind of day in London that she loves. At this time in the morning, ordinary people are making their way to work, walking at pace down the paths in the park. She can see Maxime standing at a junction where 3 paths meet, at the edge of the greenery near Buckingham Palace. "Good morning, Marjorie," he says, as she walks up to him. "How did you know I would be getting off at Green Park, Maxime?" "I normally go to Westminster Tube Station and walk from there. I only decided to do something different after I'd left the flat."
"That's the magic of espionage, Radnaya," he says. "Let's walk together."
They cross the roads outside the palace, cut down along Buckingham Gate and through the streets that lead to the river and her office. After Maxime insists on talking about generalities for 15 minutes, Marjorie's getting frustrated. "Maxime, do you have something that you want to say to me?" The old man stops.
"I spoke to Moscow," he says. They have an urgent task for you.
I'm listening.
We don't have a complete picture of the British activities in Hungary and Romania. Moscow suspects that a number of recent attacks on infrastructure that we use have been carried out by the British, but we can't get any details about how it was done or which MI6 resources carried them out.
What do they need?
Her face is set in a frown as she looks at him.
Details, Radnaya, says Maxime. Our local sources are telling us only bits and pieces, but not about these attacks or who is doing them. They're hidden from us. Moscow sees you as very well placed to get that information.
I'll try, Maxime.
It's gone beyond that, he says. We need to deliver. They're getting more and more frustrated each time a new attack happens.
I can only do my best, she says. MI5 systems can't see the details of MI6 operations. Only where they affect our own ones inside the UK.
You need to try harder.
She doesn't say more, but lets out a short breath of exasperation.
I shouldn't be telling you this, he says.
Marjorie looks at him expectantly.
They are starting to question how reliable you are as a source.
What?
She can feel her heart beating in her chest.
It'll be fine, Radnaya. We just need to get what they want.
What made them think that, for God's sake, Maxime?
Some of the intelligence that has come through from you proved to be less than truthful.
And we all know that half of all so-called intelligence is not true, but designed to distract. Her voice is angry. A bloody child could tell you that.
Calm yourself, Valentina.
He puts his hand on her arm.
You need to do something, Maxime. Tell them how much I risk for them. I could go to prison for life if I get caught.
I know.
He tries to look reassuring.
Look, I'll do what I can, but you need to tell them. Tell them I'm not a bloody magician.
She walks away hurriedly, her heels beating out a rhythm on the pavement as she goes, and leaving the old Russian feeling more concerned than ever. The injury on his leg has been aching all day, and Taras has not been able to get comfortable. He's getting bored in this flat, too. He's a man who should be out and about, doing deals, meeting people. He's not some stay-at-home loser. When he called Nadia half an hour ago, he had to shout at her down the line because he needs her to come and drive him now. And she was having some stupid girly evening where they talked about nothing. She'd been too pushy for his liking and hadn't said yes straight away. The sound of the door slamming makes him grab his crutch from where it was resting on the sofa. He starts to get up and struggles, but makes it upright as she comes into the room.
Don't you ever talk like that to me again, Taras?
Anger pervades her whole body.
I'll do whatever I like.
He responds to match her tone.
Not if you want me to stay. I'm not going to be some doormat for you to boss around, like the way you do with the people who work for you.
They argue for 5 minutes, then both fall silent. She pours herself a gin and tonic and drinks most of it in one go. He retreats to a stool and rests his leg.
What did you want so fucking urgently anyway?
She says eventually.
I need you to drive me.
Would you drive me, please? I assume you mean?
Whatever.
When?
Now, tonight.
Where?
Her face contorts with irritation.
A meeting.
Nadia finishes her drink and thinks while she watches him, trying to get comfortable on the seat.
A black market meeting?
He nods.
I said I didn't want to get involved with any of that, Taras.
I can't fucking drive, can I? Otherwise I'd do it myself.
She turns to look out of the window at the water of the Danube, moving slowly through the darkness. The last thing she wants is to be some bloody chauffeur for a criminal. This is turning into the kind of marriage she was warned about. But she was in love with him then. She turns back to her husband.
I'll do it this once,
she says.
But only this once.
He says something she can't hear, which she takes as an agreement. Half an hour later, they are sitting in his Mercedes SUV, parked on a deserted road that ends at the fence at the edge of Budapest Airport. This area is on the far side, away from the terminal buildings. It is so quiet that Nadia can hear Taras breathing. No one ever drives down here apart from black marketeers and drug dealers. The roadway is pitted and damaged. On either side, rough grassland has grown up. The few buildings in the area have long since been abandoned. Nadia has been silent through the journey from their flat to this godforsaken place. She taps her finger on the top of the steering wheel and breathes steadily, but she can feel her heart pounding under her coat. In the distance along the road, 2 headlights appear, and they bob up and down, traversing the rough carriageway. Then a second pair of lights appear. Next to Nadia and Taras is a second Mercedes, with a couple of his employees in, as he likes to call them. The 2 new vehicles stop when they're 25 yards away. Taras's men get out and walk along the centre of the track, both carrying large holdalls over their shoulder. Nadia watches as 4 men climb out of the other vehicles. She can see now that the first one is a car and the second one is a van. The men open the van's back doors and bring out sealed crates. They place them on the ground in front of Taras's men, who go down on their haunches, pull back the nailed lids, and inspect the contents. After a couple of minutes, Taras's men step to one side and talk to each other quietly. They seem to be trying to decide something. Then after a moment, one of them walks back to Taras's side of the Mercedes. "What is it, Alexei?" says Taras.
They say they can't get the stuff, boss.
"How much they got?"
"Half."
Taras takes a breath out.
"When can they get the rest?"
"They reckon they can't now,"
says Alexei, the warm air from his mouth forming a cloud as he speaks. Taras takes another breath out.
"Tell them the deal's off."
Taras pulls the window button, and the glass slides up. Alexei walks back to the group in the road, who are caught in the headlights of the cars around them. Alexei talks to them, and instantly the group exchange angry words, and 2 of the men draw their handguns.
"Fuck,"
says Taras inside the car.
"I need to get over there. Help me out, Nat."
"I'm not going out there,"
she says.
"I need to get out there. Now do as you're fucking told and help me."
"Taras, I'm not."
He hits the dashboard in front of him with his fist and makes a sound like an animal. He pulls at the door handle and pushes his legs out, then jumps down and takes his crutch. Nadia watches him limp across the distance between the car and the men. His arrival causes a calmer conversation to break out. Taras does most of the talking, she can see. After 5 minutes, Taras seems to have managed to do something, as the men all shake hands, and the whole group of men walk back with him towards Nadia inside the Mercedes. Taras opens his door and continues the conversation with the men. One of them leans into the car and sees Nadia.
"Nice,"
he says, and smirks at Taras.
"What did you say, mate?"
Taras's face is unemotional.
"This your woman?"
A silence descends on the group.
"I don't want to hear you talk about my wife like that. She's fit, that's all. I told you, show some respect."
The man turns away, but as he does so, he mumbles,
"She's probably fucking someone else anyway."
The speed with which Taras pulls out his Beretta handgun surprises them all.
"You need to apologize,"
he says. The other man stops and turns, then makes the tiniest sound of contempt. Nadia jumps at the sound of the gun firing the first time, but not the second or third times. The man falls back instantly. Nadia screams. Taras's men pull out their guns and there's a moment when all the men stand stock still, with their guns in their hands. Then the other gang slowly turn away and walk back to their vehicles, keeping their guns trained on Taris. There's a roar of engines. Then a cloud of dirt is thrown up as the car and van make wide turns in the road and drive off into the night.
Get rid of him,
Taris says to Alexei, and he clambers back into the seat next to his wife.
Move it, Nad. Drive.
She hits the ignition and pushes the pedal hard. The Mercedes skids on the earth, then the tyres grip. The SUV lurches, then picks up speed, and she turns off south, away from the body of the dead man, left in the dirt.